Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel.
Sorry, no, it's not really that kind of channel. It's just that last time around, like more than one and fewer than 7 people messaged me on Discord to say that I looked depressed and that they were a bit worried about me. And like, that's really nice, but I am fine. I think maybe I was just a bit tired when I made that video and maybe a bit downbeat about lack of short-term progress on the game, maybe. But either way, like the video title says, I have indeed been making this indie game and it's getting really quite close to being done now. And as ever, obviously it is a million miles from being done at the same time. But therein lies fodder for a big chunky devlog update on what is going on and how I've been tackling things like a flipping champ. All of which is to say, welcome back to the point and click devlog, an ongoing series in which smashing that like button will probably destroy your mouse. So the cliffhanger in the last video was that I was prepping to start on the big opening and ending cutscenes, and the good news there is that they are done. The bad news is that I don't want to show you much of them at all, because the intro one in its entirety will basically be the story trailer that I'm going to launch the Steam page with, and I will be sharing that very soon. But what I can talk about is the process of making them. So I spoke before about how Procreate, which is the iPad app I'm using to make all the animations in my game, was launching kind of a sister app called Procreate Dreams, and now, having pretty much crawled inside that app and made a squatters camp in there for over a month, what I can officially say is that I really wish they had released this bloody thing like 5 years ago. It's really good, essentially. It's much more flexible for animation than vanilla Procreate, with easing and tweening and all that kind of stuff, as well as the ability to use it as like a basic video editing suite with audio and effects at the same time. And it also seems to negate the weird layer issues I had, where there were limits that meant I had to break complicated animations up into multiple files, which was a massive headache. So for this intro cutscene, the first thing I did after writing the initial script for it anyway, was to make what I would quite generously call an animatic, which blocks out the action for my own reference. So the first job there was using a crappy AI text-to-speech tool to generate a scarily robotic version of the script for the purpose of blocking out time. I threw that into Procreate Dreams and then drew some very rough storyboards for what I wanted to happen as that script progressed. So that more or less gave me a shot list that I could then go away and work through, which is basically what I did from Christmas right through until the end of Jan. And I know it's April now and that January is ages ago. That fact is not lost on me because I am a man who owns a poster showing how many weeks he's been alive. Anyway, yeah, I'd sit in the evening with the iPad and work through these background shots and their associated animations, which was slow going, but you know, ticking stuff off a list is always quite satisfying. Anyway, eventually every shot was complete for both of those cutscenes, which meant I could drag them all into the video editing suite that I use to make these videos and start turning them into finished products. I also found a voice actor from Fiverr and got him to record the lines for my main character for the intro, and I don't know if I'll end up using him for the voice in the long run, but he's done a great job for it for now as a work in progress trailer. And again, I promise you are going to see this trailer pretty soon, just not in this particular video. I think ultimately I will just put out a casting call for all the characters, and then if nobody beats the Fiverr guy's version of it, I will just use him. In the last video I asked whether it was better to do this kind of thing in-engine or as a video, and I had pretty mixed responses, but in the end, you know, I just thought I understand video, and since what I was trying to do is quite complex and stylized with these cutscenes, I just export them as videos and have done with it, basically. But that's not been without its issues, of course, because nothing is in game development. In fact, when I first tested these cutscenes in the game, the audio kept going out of sync with the video, which was driving me bananas, but I think I've more or less solved that now in 2 steps. 1, preload the video when the scene starts with an action list entry, and 2, massively reduce the file size of the video using Handbrake on the Mac so that it's down to like less than 20 meg for that 2.5 minutes. But if you know of any secret ninja trick to make videos play even smoother or more reliably in Unity, then by all means let me know below, or just write it on the wind and I'll listen out for it, I guess. Anyway, job's a good one. That is 2 really complicated parts of the overall game package done, and I'm really happy with how they turned out, and I can't wait for you to see them, which you will at some point, just not in this video. The next big thing, which is kind of a small thing but which felt like a big thing, was the title screen. So up until now, whenever you've like started the game or I tested the game, it has just like flung the player into the first scene of the game, which is the basement. He has an opening line of dialogue saying, "Oh, that was ominous," because that there would be an ominous thing in the title screen, and that hasn't existed. So I wanted to do something about that to make it feel like, you know, it went title screen, cutscene, game, like most games do. Do you want to know a little secret? I actually used AI to make my title screen. But probably not in the way that you might think. Because the way you might think is that I stole something, which I didn't. The thing is, sometimes I think I am good at blocking out scenes, but bad at art. And other times I think I'm alright at art, but bad at blocking out scenes. And in this case, even though I kind of knew the thing I wanted to achieve, I ended up scratching my head a bit about the best way to go about it. So my idea was that I wanted to have this distant, establishing exterior shot of the office building that the whole game takes place in, and then transition from that into the intro cutscene. But I got to the point where I needed something that would just brute force the conceptual thinking part of what that would look like for me. So how does AI come in? I guess either inspiration or art direction, depending on how charitable you're feeling. Basically, I went to Bing's image generator and put in something like office skyscraper near a lake, surrounded by fields and mountains, a single country road leading up to it. And it took about 10 seconds to spaff loads of them out for me. And to be honest, that was super useful because as a starting point, it helped me kind of break that block I had in my head over it. So anyway, I shoved the one of them that I liked the best into Procreate as a rough base, and then got to work drawing my version over it. So here we go, here is the final drawing. Next thing we want to do is to bring it to life. I already had rain sorted for other scenes in the game via a Unity asset, but I wanted to make the clouds move across the sky as well, and have the lake kind of ripple and have the neon Biggle Boss Inc. sign flash on and off. Those last two are pretty straightforward, but it's the clouds where things started to fall apart a bit. What I did there was to set up a canvas in Procreate mirrored down the middle, and then draw loads of layers of textures on top of themselves for the clouds, so that then when I tell Procreate Dreams to move them along the x-axis, I can duplicate it once, and then in theory it would be a mirror of the start and end, so in theory it could loop seamlessly forever. Don't worry if that doesn't make sense, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that it did more or less work, but there is a big problem with them that I will come back to in a minute. Anyway, with all the layers and animations done, apart from the bit we'll come back to in a minute, I could set about actually implementing the title screen. And implementing the title screen is a funny one because, as with everything Adventure Creator, there's great documentation for it, and there is a 2 or 3 page guide just to setting up like how to make a title screen that you follow, and it works. You don't need to know how it works, you don't particularly need to know why the things you're doing are doing what they're doing, but there's no point in me explaining that process because it's just there, you follow it, and you have a title screen. So yeah, I followed those instructions and it was easy, basically. All I did on top of those instructions though was to implement a camera pan at the start and then add a bit of parallax to each layer of the scene to imply depth as the camera does that movement and as the mouse moves around the screen as well. And so yeah, here it is. And it's really nice to be able to launch the game and have it actually look like a game now, rather than just yeeting you into a random basement with no context. So anyway, these clouds. So I made all these animations. They're at 24 frames a second. They probably don't need to be, but they are. And it spat out like, God, 700 PNGs. Now, the problem with those PNGs is that for some reason they are all like 5 meg, so instantly this cloud thing has added like a gigabyte to my game that it doesn't need to, and I want to have these clouds be a prefab that I can use in other scenes because every scene has a window that looks out onto the clouds. So yeah, slight issue there in that they're bloody massive and I don't really know what's if you know the easiest way to like shrink these clouds so that they're very small other than just using crunch compression, please tell me, because I feel like I've done something just needlessly stupid. Do you want to go out? Go on in. Go on. Go on. Let's see it. Anyway, that aside, I've now got a game with a title screen and a big whizzy intro cutscene and also a big whizzy one at the end that wraps it all up, and you can play the thing all the way through in between those 2 cutscenes. So that is pretty good, I reckon. It's probably time to abandon this whole project and work on something brand new. No, I'm just kidding. What it is time to do is to work on how to actually sell the thing, and that means finally setting up that Steam page that everybody keeps having a go at me about. So yeah, as I make this video, my wife has gone away on a work trip for a week. So instead of just sitting around in my pants eating pizza, I'm trying to see that as a good block of time to smash through some of the stuff on the big Steam list with a view to get that Steam page launched literally in the next like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I don't know. So that means that aside from making this video, I'm also working on key art for the various mad dimensions and sizes that Steam wants, as well as the technical bits and bobs, and a slightly modified version of that big intro cutscene that can act as that story trailer for the page. So I suppose keep an eye on this channel and on my Twitter, because once the game's live I will need you to wishlist the ever-loving crap out of it for me and then create a second Steam account and probably wishlist it again. That'd be great. So yeah, that's where we're at with everything. I figure that once that Steam page is live I can go back to my big polishing list of like nice to haves while I hopefully collect those wish lists and then work on voiceover stuff, chip away at ongoing marketing efforts, and then I can launch the game when everything's good and ready. no firm release date yet. Don't hold me to one because I won't deliver on it and we'll only fall out over it. But yeah, Steam, polish, voices, marketing, done. It's really very easy, this game development stuff. Piece of absolute cake. Anyway, thank you for watching. The only other thing I did want to say is that if you're one of the handful of people who support this channel on Patreon, you should probably stop doing that. While it is very nice, obviously, to receive like £30 a month for doing absolutely nothing, and I do obviously really appreciate your support, I do think it's a bit of a waste of your money, given that I only make a video like once every 3 months nowadays, if that. So like, I'm not going to cancel your pledge for you, but I would advise that it's probably worth doing that yourself at some point. Right, I'm going now. Here's another video.